Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Welcome to Prospect Podcast. That's wild that it was on mute to start with. I don't. That's weird. Um, it's really weird. StreamYard always is interesting. There's a lot of weird things. So welcome to Prospect Podcast. I'm Coach Human. I'm here with Coach D, and then we have our guest Scotty Mish here. Are you student assistant with
QC, quality control.
QC? Okay, QC with them. Okay. So I want you to, if you can, especially on the eve of Coach Callahan Senior stepping down, and Coach Gallo taking over and going in new direction. Obviously, it's probably same staff that'll be there. Who knows? Even though that staff has been there for a long time, especially the more senior staff members. So that'll probably continue. Talk about what you've been doing, your career, and kind of what's your role with Monmouth, and we'll dive in from there.
Sure, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you. Yeah, so at Monmouth, I'm the special teams quality control coach. So I kind of assist my boss, Coach Long, with anything. Shout out Coach Long. He's one of the best in the business, man. He
Yes,
is
he
the man.
is.
He is the man. So yeah, I assist him kind of with everything he needs me to do with all special teams, all breakdowns, anything when it comes to game planning. I send him game plans weeks in advance, just to kind of pre-scouting the opponents, and I help him out with all the coaching responsibilities on the field when it comes to all the positions and everything kind of going into anything special teams really. He brought me along. Funny story. I started coaching, or he coached me his first year coaching. He coached me my senior year of high school. So he went from high school. He was in training camp at the NFL. He started coaching me that year. Brought me once that season was over. He took the special teams coordinator job at East Stroudsburg University, and he goes, "Hey, I know you want to coach. You want to come with me?" So I was his student assistant there at East Stroudsburg. That's how I got into coaching. Coach Long brought me in back in 2019. I started with him.
Yep.
I was his student assistant doing special team stuff and defensive stuff over there at East Stroudsburg D2 in the PSAC. I was over there for 4 years for my undergrad. I got a chance to work with special teams my entire career there as my undergrad. All right, it was phenomenal. He let me have a scheme, everything. He ended up leaving though in 2021, and I was able to help out being assistant coordinator there with the two guys and Coach Hags that took over, and he allowed me to run install meetings and do all the kind of things as an assistant coordinator, which was so great. I'm grateful for that too, getting that kind of responsibility. So I was at East Stroudsburg for 4 years with my undergrad, and then I took over as a GA after. So I was there for 6 years total. I worked with all three levels of the defense, the D line for 2 years, the linebackers for 2 years, and my last 2 years there with the DBs, I was the GA for the defensive backs and assistant special teams coordinator. It was really great to kind of meet and grow in every single level of the defense with coaching wise. So I'm appreciative for all those guys for that. And then got a chance to come back with Coach Long for another year back here at Monmouth, which is nice, close to home. I'm from right around this area, so made it super easy, super simple move to take on this responsibility. I'm grateful for it.
Very cool. So you started as a student assistant at East Stroudsburg. What year were you in college at the time? Were you
I was freshman in college. So I
right out of
graduated high
the
school.
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I graduated high school in 2019 and started coaching that fall. So, which is awesome.
Where are you from down the shore? Where are you from?
I'm from Sayreville, so it's like 20 minutes north of Monmouth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't worry, you were good. We're familiar. We know.
There you go.
Yes. Very cool. So when you came to college, did you go right to the football staff immediately and say, "Hey, I'm interested in helping anyway"? Like, what was that like?
So my senior year of high school in like the winter, like 2018 into 2019 winter. So that 2018 season is when Coach Long coached me. So me and him were talking like after the season. He was like, because he asked me, I was really close to him. I was a special teams guy. I was his holder. I played a ton of special teams for him. He was asking me, he's like, "Hey, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what do you think?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I kind of like coaching. I might want to get into it. Like, I don't know how to start. Like." And he was like, "Listen, I'm probably going to get a job at East Stroudsburg. It's where I went to school. It's a D2 in the PSAC. Why don't you come help me out? Be a student assistant or coach there. And, well, I'll take you under my wing. We get it done." I was like, "You know what? That sounds like an awesome idea." I applied to school that week, got in the week after that, and been smooth sailing ever since.
It's really cool.
That is wow. So okay, when you first started, as a student assistant. Did well, first of all, what made you want to go down the college football route?
Yeah.
Did you have a regular college existence while you were a
Yeah, I get that. I get that question all the time. So I knew I wanted to be around football, right? I've been around football
yeah,
since I was 4 years old, like playing it, growing up in it, like loving just watching football. And I knew like I was in high school. Like I'm a very self-aware man. I understand like, all right, like I know I'm not going to play college football. It's like why I want to stay around it in some sort of capacity, and it was my opportunity to stay around it. And I've loved it ever since. Like I graduated high school at like 5'5", 5'6", like 150 pounds tops. So like I knew I knew my
So
responsibility.
the writing was on the wall. The writing was on the
Oh,
wall. But
it was there. I'm like I said, I'm very self-aware. I knew my responsibility. I knew my role. Like if I was able to get into like I always knew what I was supposed to do though. Like a coach, like when it comes to like playing wise, I always knew everything that was going on. Like not just my position, but everyone else to make sure I could help everyone else be as good as possible. And I think Coach Long saw that in me when I played with him when I played for him, and he was like, I want this kid to work with me, and I've been with him since, and he's allowed me to get into coaching right then and there, which is so unbelievable.
that really is. I mean, all right. So, what was your East Stroudsburg experience like? Like, take me through like what it was like when you were a student assistant at East Stroudsburg, balancing everything from college and then doing that same time. Because there's probably, especially in today's world, a lot of guys that want to do what you did, but they just don't know how to go about doing it. Like, how are they going to balance their studies while they're going to get everybody coffee for staying there all long? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to put your priorities. You got to be super time efficient. That's like the biggest thing that I've noticed is being efficient with your time. Obviously, we got 24 hours in a day, and you got to sleep sometime. So you got to just be super time efficient rather than sitting on your phone for a little bit or you're trying to decompress. Like, I mean, you just got to keep grinding at work, and that's what kind of my college experience was like for at least the first 2 or 3 years. Now, like you got to settle like allow you to establish some sort of presence as a coach, though. Like I wanted to make sure the players took me seriously as a coach right off the rip. Like you gotta like
right.
I didn't want to go out with them. I didn't want to go and party. It took me a couple of years before I started hanging out with other people outside of football. I really wanted to establish who I was as a person and as a coach early on. And I think that was something that Coach Long really told me, like right when I first started. Like, listen, like I want you to have fun, but make sure you're still being that. Like you got to be some sort of professional. I think that's why I've been successful to this point of just having some
Yeah.
sort of sense of professionalism in my career. I've always maintained that, making sure my appearance and making sure my like the way that I go about my everyday, just making sure I keep that standard high. And that's kind of why, like going through college, like, my GPA never slipped. You had to be, if I wanted to set the standard for my players to have a 4.0 or 3.0 GPA, you got to live it. And that's kind of like you got to live by what you preach, live by example. Like, by the way, Coach Twig, head coach at East Stroudsburg, talks about like servant leadership. If you want your players to do something for you, you got to show them that you're willing to do it for them. So if I want my kids to get a 3.0, I got to get a 3.0. If I want my kids to work hard in everything you do, you got to work hard. And that's kind of how I've always like lived and breathed when it comes to coaching. Like I got to prove and show by example. Like, and that's super important. And having that college experience, yeah, I got a chance to do whatever I needed to do and go out and have a good time with my friends and stuff. But there was still always some sort of sense of professionalism. Even when I was in my undergrad coaching, like those guys would come to me and ask me to watch film with them or go over some scheme or go over some of their technique stuff that they can get better with. And even the position coaches, they'd let me help out. Like the defensive line coach there, Coach Lackey, DC, he was able to let me take the defensive tackles when I worked with him, and he'd take the defensive ends to work pass rush, and I'd work run game stuff. And he trusted me with that. But that's also because I formed that the level of standard that I needed to, and you just got to hold that standard as best as possible.
Right. And I think, Scott, that's part of probably one of the biggest things. And look, it was I wanted to ask that question and understand that because going in there as, such a young guy, right? And look, like you said, you were 5'5", 100 whatever pounds too. Like there's a physical stature and an optics look to it that you go in there and now all of a sudden, like, you know, here's this guy working with the football staff and like telling me kind of what's going on. You know, you have to have some level and at some higher standard, you know, in order to be that, right? Especially as an undergrad guy. And then look, once it's established, right? And we kind of all know, you know, when you're in the building, it's probably easier than when you're outside of the building. But for you to kind of, you know, take that path and then kind of really live it day in, day out, you know, is kind of really what I feel like you needed to do in order to get that, you know, respect from those guys moving forward. And then ultimately, you know, now you earn their trust. And then now they're, you know, you are sitting down with them, you know, watching film or doing whatever because, you know, they respect you on that. They see the coaches respecting you in that way. Now they go through it, but it's all in how you kind of carry yourself, right? Like
Yep.
what was in that, like, why was that? Why did you go in there and like, you know, what was your driving force in order to kind of go in there as a college freshman, you know, and say, look, this is the way I want to do things when look, most college freshmen, they're not worried about that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going in there and they have one track mind of like, hey man, like this is college. I'm going to go live it up and do whatever. So what do you feel like that was what was the biggest driving force for why you went in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very competitive dude, right? So if I go in and go to college and I'm like, all right, like I'm going to coach, I want to be the best coach I possibly can be. I want to be better than you know what I mean? Like I want to be one of the best guys in my room and do whatever I can do to be the best. Cause I want my appearance, the way I carry myself, like you said, like you got to have that high standard. I wanted to be the best at everything I can do, regardless of what it is. And I chose to come in and coach college football. Well, I'm going to be the best at it. I got to be the best at it. And I want to be the best, not only just for myself, because obviously I have my own personal goals, but being the best for the guys around us. Coaching isn't just about moving up the ladder and getting to the ranks. It's about impacting players at whatever age you are. It doesn't matter what age you are. Impacting guys positively and professionally so they can be better men, so they can be better people in the community, whether better fathers, brothers, sons, whatever they're going to be in the future. My goal is to impact them in a positive manner. And I wanted to make sure I hold myself in that standard, not just to myself, but to them also. And I'm a lead by example guy. So if I can show like, hey, this is what I want to be, this is what you need to be, it's easier for them to follow in footsteps rather than make their own path when I'm guiding them down the wrong path, you know? So if I'm able to show them, hey, this is what you need to do to be great, that's what I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I need to make sure that these guys can live a happy life also.
Cool. Very cool. Oh, did we lose Dave?
I think. No, sorry, Buzz out there.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because the way you talk about it, you sound like a 20-year vet over here. So it's so interesting how you really like picked up on it and learned all that. And I feel like it really had to be difficult when you first started, and even now. I mean, obviously you're still young, right? Some of the players are your well nowadays with the transfer portal and how long guys can be in college, they could technically be around your age, right? What is that been like? What are some of the things that you had to do to really let players understand that you know what you're doing, you're serious about what you're doing, like, because that has to be a big chat. That's probably the biggest challenge in my opinion of when you're younger, and the fact that you went right into coaching, right? So these guys are playing in college and you went right into coaching. So what were some, because that always fascinates me. It's because I feel like that would have been something that would have been very difficult for me. I don't know if I would have been able to do that when I was that age. So no, seriously, I'm serious. Like I was way too much of a fuck around at that time to be able to do something like that. So and it is a tribute to, and it's the reason why I'm asking these questions, because I want players. I want young guys who are getting it. We interview a few guys that were in similar situations to you, and there's a lot more guys. This industry, and this is the reason why I ask it. This industry is going so fast, and there's so many more opportunities. Not just coaching, but like quality control, assistants, marketing, media. I mean, you name it. It's a corporate. Even at Monmouth, that's a smaller corporation, but like these big schools, it's a corporation, a gigantic billion-dollar corporation with lots of different roles, right? So what you identified early, a lot of people are thinking about it. They may want to be a coach, they may not want to be a coach, they may want to be something involved in football. But that becomes an obstacle, right? Like, so how did you get past that obstacle? And what did you do to really say, hey, this is, help people understand that this is something I can do?
Yeah, you got to show that you love it. Like coaches don't just coach to coach. You got to live it. Like you got to really love coaching. This is a lot of time. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and you got to really love what you do. And if the players see that you love what you do and you're willing to do anything for it, whether it's like you guys said earlier, go get a coffee run or even go like just show that you know what's on the chalkboard, X's and O's. Like you got to know when it's your time to show like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. You gotta make sure that you gotta let them know that you know too. They'll buy in. Like I remember one of the first meetings I was in, and they were asking me questions, and they asked me in front of the team, and I answered it correctly, and they were like, "Yeah, okay." Some of the players were like, "Yeah, you know what you're talking about, don't you?" I'm like, "Yeah. If you guys need help, then just come
Right.
out." And that's when they start developing that trust with you. You got to get them to trust you, but you got to really show them that you love football. Like you can coach, and sometimes you can get away with saying, "Oh yeah, I like coaching. It's cool." You could be that volunteer guy the rest of your career, and that's fine. If that's what you like to do, you like to be around football, cool. But like the goals and aspirations that I have, I love football and I love getting to that point of the hard work. You got to love the hard work too. And the players will see that by you being in the office and you being visible and you being around with what kind of they want to do. Like, yeah, I love doing what I do and the players know it because I'm always willing to talk to them or willing to cut. Like, if I have to come in on an extra day or if get up early to talk to them, I'll do it just to make sure I'm around it because I love doing it.
I'm curious. That's a great answer, and that's something that obviously makes a huge difference. Um, I'm assuming, being younger, one of the real benefits is like there's so much technology going into sports now, football especially, obviously, and you're obviously a person that probably grew up with it since, obviously from the time you're a little kid, right? So talk about the technology aspects of football and some of the things that are going on there and some of the things that like you found being younger, like you can really help coaches with from that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, just being able to do everything. Like if someone asks you, "Hey, can you do this on the computer for me?" You being able to like, "Yep, let's do it," and they'll know, and you'll be, all right, you're usable. Like not that you're usable, but you're
Yeah,
accountable. You
No,
you
no,
have
no, you are. It's what you
yeah.
you're
you
usable.
are. Yeah, you're
You,
that's exactly what it is. Like
they could use your help. They could use your
yes.
help,
Right.
and like if you're able to do something, then that's another plus to your repertoire. Like you could say like, all right, yeah, like I'm okay with technology. Well, if you can separate an Excel document in 30 seconds compared to the hour that it might take like an older coach, like that's something important. Like I said, time management and being critical of your time is so important at this level or at any level in general. Just being efficient with your time. If you can not, it's not taking shortcuts, but if you could efficiently do something easier, just because you know how to do like a command on a keyboard, it really
Yeah.
saves you time. And not only just that, like just being able to do the film and being able to like know how to cut things up and being
Oh,
able to like just doing it over and over and over again. It just show you can get really good at it and being good at all that stuff and not having to ask as many questions. Like, yeah, at first you're going to need to ask questions to learn. You can't be afraid to ask questions, but once you know what you're doing and you run with it, you'll get way better at it and you'll be good at it. And that's something really important. Like when it comes to even setting up cameras on the field or setting up some sort of like press box communication or some sort of video stuff on the sideline during game day. If you get super efficient at it, people are going to be like, all right, that's something less that you take off the plate of the coordinator and well, they get to call a better game because they're not worried about it as much. That's something that a young assistant coach can really be useful for. Like as terrible as a job it might be, sometimes it gets kind of crummy or you get the rain happens and you got to pivot.
Right.
But like if you're able to pivot and really kind of show like, hey, I can do this. You're more there's more things that you're able to do and it makes you more you're beneficial to the staff. That's
Right.
super important.
Makes everything run smoothly. It is are you guys using stuff like AI at all in football at all or
Yeah, I mean,
breaking
Chat
down
GPT.
film?
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT will help out. We use Pro Football Focus here, PFF, so that's a
Right.
huge help. It saves me a lot of time. I'll say that. With all the
Right.
times, and like sometimes I sit there with a hand stopwatch and sit there and snap times because I still got to do that. But like the hang times and the distances and stuff, that's all put in for me already, which helps me out so much. And it's so critical, and I'm thankful for that tool. But like we sometimes like using like even like our offensive line coach here at Monmouth will pull up a ChatGPT scouting report on some of the defensive line, and it'll pop up and be like, hey, this is what's going on, and this is like, all right. Like if you put in one of your files into like one of the AI tools, it'll spit out like a game plan for you in a nice format, which is kind of cool. I don't use it as much
Amazing.
because I like to make sure my work is like 100% correct, and I want to be super detailed about it. So I could use that as kind of like a testing tool to see how close it is.
Right.
But
It's just
yeah,
it's another tool in your
right,
toolbox to use to
exactly.
kind of, or to even think like, hey, I'm sure there's a lot of others that are taking, these or looking at this stuff. So let me pull it up to see what maybe somebody else looks at it or how they do it
Exactly.
or something like that. And I'm sure it's an evolving type of thing where there'll be more to it. But just to hear, I mean, look, the overall premise of your role is to make it more efficient for the guys above you, right? So these are
Yep.
tools that ultimately what will make things more efficient, and that's going to be something that you'll learn and you'll progress, and it'll only expand upon, and that'll be another thing in your box that or on your resume that you can use and say, hey, look, yes, I've utilized this before and we've done this and whatever. And like that's all part of it, is building that resume, building that stuff to ultimately, you know what I mean, to kind of go and there. And the thing that's so different, Scotty, about you and how they're viewing it is that, like, a lot of the younger guys just think you get into this thing and it's like, hey, boom, like that's how it works. Like, no, man, like you got to do some of the worst jobs that literally suck, and there's no shine included. But if it makes it easier for that guy above me, right, then that's ultimately what will help us win. And then winning and all that stuff, it all comes together. But that's the big part of it, is like it's a grind, it's work, and there is not a lot of shine, even for someone like you who got such a jump start on it. Look at how many years you've been in it, right? And by title, you're here, right? And that's not, I don't think that's what you're chasing ultimately, right? Is like titles. I mean, sure, everybody wants their own room, everybody wants to move up, but like you're willing to go through it to get to where it is, because it's that foundational stuff is pivotal. Like some
Yeah.
guys won't be able to know video or won't be able to set up a sideline or cameras or any of that stuff because they skipped it, or they wanted to just skip it, or they took the easy way out. Like there's something to be said about that grind and going through it in order to really grasp it and learn it.
Yeah, some people are able to skip out on running a scout team or drawing scout cards. Like that's so important. Like because now that I've done it, like I've run scout teams here at Monmouth and at East Stroudsburg, so I've drawn scout cards plenty of times. Like knowing that is so important because now one day when I get to that point where I'm running my own room eventually, and when I'm doing what I need to do, I'll be like, all right, this is exactly what I need from my QC when I'm there. I've also learned from experience, like I know how to treat a QC too. Like the guys that I've been so grateful. I've been so grateful for the guys that I've worked for. They've been great to me. They really have been. Every single coach I've worked with I've been nothing but grateful for them because they've really treated me and showed me the way of what to do, because they were all QCs in the past also. So they know like you can get ripped for a couple things, but like you're doing work that no one else really wants to do. So like if I know, like, all right, you gotta be patient sometimes, or you gotta know, like, hey, this is what's going on in this world. Like,
Yep.
now I know what to expect and what I need from like how much workload you're able to put on those kids, and when you get to that future part, that's like super important. I've learned that throughout my career too, of how much you're able to give. I mean, the longer you've been with someone, the more you're going to trust them too. So that's why Coach Long gives me a ton of work, because he trusts me, and I love it because he trusts me to do it, and I'm able to
Right.
take so much off his plate. So now he knows, all right, he can go watch this breakdown. There's going to be nothing wrong with it. There's going to be something that he knows, all right, this is what this means. We're on the same lingo, like learning the same languages.
Right.
Everyone knows football's a different language when you're with a different staff. Like,
oh yeah,
different. So like talking on the same, like just being able to speak in their language also is so important. And that's big time, knowing all those tools. And when it comes to not even just the film work or the grunt work, it's just knowing what they want. Like if someone like my DC at East Stroudsburg, this is and he'll say this is one of the best stories. He told me to go get the thing out of the thing, and I knew what he was talking about. If you're able to do that, like that's something that you could really you could run with that.
There's no doubt. I think that the efficiency of being able to do your job and being reliable, obviously, is such a big deal. Now, you're doing QC or your special teams? What are
Yeah, I'm special teams QC, so I do
QC?
everything with specials right now. So all like the breakdowns, game plans, pre-game plans, like all that, like the film breakdown stuff. That's all me right now, all specials wise here.
So
Obviously, we
what are
help
you?
out with like recruiting and stuff, but
Right, right. What are you seeing in respect to special teams as being some of the like trends, some of the things that are most important within your special teams that you have to have?
yeah, I mean, not getting punch blocked, protecting the leg, that's super important. That's really big. Like protection is like one of the biggest things now. I'm working on punt stuff. That's so important. Making sure you're getting the ball off. You can and having the guys be able to like catering the scheme to your punter is so important. Like you can go out and recruit whatever you want. Like there's obviously there's 100 punters that might be D1 material, but if he doesn't fit your scheme, you got to build the scheme around that kid. Like our kid here, Luke Shable at Monmouth, he's the man. But and we want to cater everything to him so that he's able to get the ball off, right? Like making sure make sure he's protected. That's one of our punt models here: protect the leg. Like you got to make sure we get that ball off. We have to. Kick return, I mean, change the game is so important too. Like you're able to change the game anytime, any special teams rep in general, not just like kickoff return or punt. Every special teams rep is a significant point scoring opportunity. Every single play. If you get a punt block, well, that's field position change, which is going to equal points, right? Or if you down a punt inside the 5, that's a field position change. That's a game changing play. Every special teams play has an opportunity to put points on the board. Every single one of them, or take them off. If you're a kickoff team, well, that you can get a kick return scored on you. You're a kick return team. Your goal is to score a kick return every time the ball's kicked to you. Extra points, field goals, not taking plays off. That's so important. Like just being able to really execute the importance of special teams is so big. It really is. It's so important with the like it's a game. Every play is a game changing opportunity. Every one of them, and you got to really take it. You can't take it for granted.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, with respect to special teams, that is obviously the key component. That it's a third of the game, and it's an important part of the game, and often neglected. But teams that take it seriously and do the job there are ultimately teams that have the best opportunities to change different momentums within the game. Um, you guys obviously score a lot of points there. So kicking obviously is going to be a big
Yeah,
A lot
deal.
of reps.
Uh, yeah, a
60,
lot of reps for.
yeah, 60 extra points this year.
Did you write 60 extra point? Wow. So
Yeah.
wow, that's like a dream. So
That's
it
that's unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. What so in the kicking game, especially with respect to the kicker, and that aspect of it, like what are some of the things that you guys are looking for out of your kicking unit, your kicker, and what that type of person has to be able to do?
Yeah, I mean, our kicker Hudson Feeney, he's the man. I mean, consistent inside of 40, 100%. Man, he's looking for the consistency. I mean, he might not get a chance to kick a long field goal or that many field goals. We only kicked 2 field goals this year because we scored so many touchdowns. But I will say, like, just being the consistent guy that we know, when we go out there, we don't have to worry about this going wrong. And we had a couple mishaps early on this year that was an issue that wasn't even dealing with him. There's a couple things we had to fix with our field extra point unit, so we went 60 of 62. But I mean, he is everything but consistent and reliable, and we love him too. Just having that kind of that swagger to him too. Like he knows he's going to go out there and kick 60 extra points in the season. I mean, he's excited about that. That's 60 reps, 60 opportunities to show what he can do, and that's kind of what we're looking for out of him too. Like even just the offensive line too. Like our offensive line is the field goal team being the offensive line of field goal is a tough job. You get
Oh,
right
it's
over
miserable.
here. Sitting there, you're holding on for dear life. It's a miserable thing. And our guys
Literally
take
miserable.
pride in it. Our guys take pride in it, and they don't mind taking one for the team to make sure that we get an extra point on the board. And that's key.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, no doubt about it. So okay, so kind of transitioning to like some of your goals as you continue to work within Monmouth. What like where do you see yourself continuing to grow, what are some of the things that you hope one day to be able to take on as a coach in your role?
Yeah, I mean, I still want to learn as much as I can. Football is such a growing sport, and no matter where or how old you are, there's something new you can learn every day. And the second that I think that I know everything is the day that I know I'm wrong, and I want to learn as much as I absolutely can. Not just obviously I believe in what I believe in with schematics and everything that I kind of want to go gear myself towards, and I have my stuff together, but I still need like there's so much more to learn. Obviously, I've been around here. I've been in college coaching for this is my seventh season, but it's like there's still I've only been around
Yeah,
two
it's
different
wild.
places. There are 146 FBS schools. There are over that. There's 100 and whatever FCS schools. There's a ton of D2, ton of high schools, ton of D3, whatever. There's so much more football to learn from myself that I want to keep growing and just learning everything. So when a situation comes up and I see it, like, all right, well, I've seen that situation. Well, it might have happened in a D3 game, but guess what? This was the outcome. This is what I can do to make sure I get a better outcome or the outcome that I want to see. So trying to learn as much as possible is so important. Like, and I want to cater it towards whatever I'm doing in my schemes. And I'm lucky enough to be here and learn a lot from Coach Callahan, who just retired, and Coach Gallo, who's taken over now. It's super. Like I've got a chance to learn from a ton of different guys, and it's a great experience too. Just trying to get through as much as I can to learn what I can do or what I shouldn't do, there's a lot that goes into what you like. This is what I don't want to do in my career. You've learned that along the way too. Like you learn,
Right.
you got to learn from examples of your guys. Like Coach Long tells me, he's like, listen, learn from my mistakes so you don't ever make those mistakes. So like when he gets into a situation, it's like, all right, I know that this is a situation. Well, I know I should tell this kid to avoid to the field today instead of avoid to the boundary, so I don't get a kickoff return touchdown scored again. Right? Like those. It's the little things like that really teach you. And that's not even like a real example, but like those guys, like just something like that, just like the way you go about the little details of teaching the little details. That's so important.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
in a perfect world, Scotty, as you transition through, right? You've kind of cut it like that. You're a special teams guy, but if you had to transition to a side of the ball, and then with that, a position specific, if you were looking like, is that, what position, what side of the ball, like, do you think you want to be, you know what I mean? Like, where do you want to align yourself or kind of set for your future?
I mean, I'm looking to go wherever I'm needed. I'm willing to learn whatever I can. I have, like I told you guys before, I worked with the defensive side for 6 years at East Stroudsburg. I was able to work with the D-line, linebackers, and defensive backs. So like I was able to work with all three levels of the defense. So that I love defensive football. But like I said, I'm willing to learn whatever. I've always been taught like, hey, listen, you should learn the other side of the ball so that you're able to like. I grew up as a defensive guy. I came in as a defensive guy at Stroudsburg. I was a defensive guy and special teams guy my entire time there. I was told, hey, you should learn some offense. Say, listen, this is how the defense wants to get it. This is how the defense wants to stop the offense. Yep. Well, if I have a defensive mind and I say, hey, this is what the defense wants to do on this play, I know, all right, this is how we can beat it. Or vice versa. Like if I go to the offense, I know, all right, this is how I want to beat this. Well, I know, all right, well, if I'm in this coverage, this is how they're going to want to do it. This is how I got to play something. So it doesn't matter to me what side of the ball. I've been working with the defense. I've been with I helped our defense here a little bit with running a new offensive scout team and learning some of that stuff. So I've been with the defense, but it doesn't matter to me what side of the ball. I'm willing to learn whatever I can to be more expendable. If I can learn offense, defense, special teams, I mean, that covers all three sides of the ball. I'm able to get a job. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter what they're looking for.
No doubt about it. I think that it's important to continue to grow. You're doing a great job from that aspect. It's starting early is a game changer in this. It's difficult, but you got tremendous confidence, and I think that goes a long way. And really being able to,
Dave, it's like this too, right? Like for him, so we see so many guys that as high school seniors are 5'5", 160 pounds, and they're like, well, I'm going to go play college football, right? And then they spend the next 4 or 5 years either banged up, hurt, pissed off, right? Or they don't make it that far. Then they get burnt out and feel like football screwed them in some way. Your self-awareness to know, shit, I ain't playing college football, but you know what? Like, I want to be around it. And look, there's a guy here in Coach Long, who believes in me, right? And for him, it's a double-edged sword where I know exactly what I'm getting with this kid. So yeah, he can help me. I can help him. Let's go. Like he's skipped that part of like, hey, I'm going to continue to play and do all this stuff. And then I'm going to get into coaching. Right. And he's jumped right into it, ground floor up. And now building towards that is 4 or 5 years ahead of where most guys his age are in this journey. Right. And now just added to it by learning all of this stuff. You've already been at a Division II program. Now you're at, an FCS program that's doing amazing things, right? Like you've worked for guys and are working for guys at a higher level. He just kind of skipped that mid-range point or that starting point, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get him on, because there are so many guys like you now, Scotty, that want to get into coaching and are starting to realize like, hey, maybe I don't want to play or I can't play, right? Especially with the way college football is now, like, those lower level guys or those mid-range guys of like, hey, I'm not going to go live that D3 life or whatever it is and just hang on. Like, I want to get into coaching. I know I want to get into coaching. How do I do it? Right? You're the prime example of like how to do it, what to do, and kind of go from there. So it's just so interesting to hear how God, like, you know what I mean? Because Dave, we talk about it all the time, right? Guys are like, how do I get into coaching? And most times it's, hey, I'm going to go back to my high school and I'm going to volunteer for a year or whatever. Whereas you can get to that higher level right now by just doing it right now and handling your undergrad. And look, I'm sure you're taking grad classes and doing all that other kind of stuff, like while you're there or whatever. So you're gaining those pieces of paper and that knowledge, like moving forward, so you're sleeping in the office a lot. Like, that's okay. You know what I mean? You're still young and willing to do it, dude. Like, you got to do that stuff like before you get older and do all that other kind of stuff. So it's really cool to see it and to see that this is definitely something we see on the uptick, like in terms of younger guys getting into this world. We talk about it all the time with how staffs are expanding in some way, shape, or form, right? Like,
Yep.
There's a lot of that stuff now, like off the field, of whether it be film or social media or, the GM aspect of like managing rosters and all that stuff. Like, staffs are expanding to more off the field stuff. And you got a lot of that, already under your belt, man. Like, it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, being young and being in coaching is kind of helps you out too a little bit too, because you know what the players want, you know what they're looking for too. Like, these kids are so heavily on their phone and social media. You brought up social media, like you got to have some sort of social media presence as a football team now to make sure that you're getting kids. Like, if kids sees like, oh, TikTok's blowing up at the football team posted, maybe I want to go there. I mean, we started a TikTok account at East Stroudsburg, and I've been the pleasure of being able to start that and getting up to 100,000 followers when I was running it. It was a great experience, and getting guys like, all right, well, we can use that as a recruiting tool now. So not even just knowing what these kids want to see. Like, these kids they want to look the part. They like, and if you're able to help them out and get that way, and it's just another way to kind of.
And back to Coach's point, right? Like, back to Coach Schumann's point about you being the young guy and knowing technology, like, say you have an older position coach who has no idea how to operate his X or his Instagram account or whatever, like, you can go and help him and do those things and be, you know what I mean? Like, help in those ways where, if there's somebody who doesn't know that, like, okay, now you're expendable, because what else do you bring to the table? You can't just be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, you gotta know as much as you possibly can, and that's the same thing. Like, you guys asked about what side of the ball. Like, I don't want to. It doesn't matter what side of the ball for me. I just want to learn as much as I can, so I can be both sides of the ball if I need to. That's right. So it's so great to be able to learn as much as you possibly can. It's so important.
There's no doubt. I mean, that's always going to continue to be the thing, and absorb as much as you can. You continue to grow from that aspect. You mentioned there's something that you like already offensively, schematically, or whatever it was. I'm just curious what that was. What you're partial to.
Like, defensively.
I think you said, well, I don't know if it was defensively or offensively, but you're saying that you have some of your ideas as far as what you're partial schematically.
I mean, all special teams wise, like, I mean, I believe in like what I believe in with the rugby punt stuff and doing like the different schematics involving that and getting guys in coverage and Same thing, just being as multiple as possible. I mean, I believe in showing a ton of different looks and makes teams you got to prepare. If you show like 15 different looks, well, guess what? That's 15 different clips that they have to watch in practice.
Yep.
So you only got 4 days to prepare for a team. You're showing 15 looks. Well, guess what? They're not getting a chance to repeat your most important looks potentially, or you just showing as much as you possibly can. If you come in with a different look every single week, well, it's another thing the next team has to prepare for. And you could be as multiple as possible, and then guess what? Now that's another thing that another team has to take time to prepare for, and I want to be able to do that. But you got to keep it simple for your players, though. You got to be able to keep it simple for the players so that they're able to understand it like that. But if you keep it multiple but simple, that's one of my most important things with anything, like even defensive or special teams. Like I've not really had the opportunity to learn a lot about offense. Like I've been able to, but like just going through my time. But I haven't really worked on the offensive side of the ball yet. So defensively and special teams wise, if you could show 9 million different looks, well, guess what? That's 9 million different things that they have to potentially practice the next week, and that's big. That's big.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's important to kind of have, like, as you're learning from everybody else, forming your own thoughts of what you think for yourself as what you like to do, continue and really analyzing the stuff you're better and better suggestions on things, and help because you're formulating your own ideas as you're learning from the coaches that you're working with. And all of a sudden they're going to turn around at some point and be like, Scott, what do you think about this? And you'll already know because you've been walking your mind through this process and or writing it. I'm sure you write it down and in your computer you save it. But like you've been formulating that process. So the day that they turn around and say, hey, how would you attack this, or how would you've had that ready to go, and you've been analyzing, you've been answering their questions already all these years about what the other team's doing, what we're doing, and then they're going to turn around and say, hey, how would you handle this? And I think that's what's really important about you're learning from all the guys you coach with, but you're also formulating at the same time like what you think is important too, and because at one point they're going to turn around, and that's what's going to continue to help to advance you as a coach and keep moving you up there and keep getting more and more important roles, and keep squeezing your time even more there, Scott. That's it. That's how it is. But really good stuff. Really, I think it's important to see how things are going from a perspective of someone who's young, who's going through it, who started really, really early like you have, and how you're formulating, how you're continuing to develop. Obviously, Monmouth is a great place and it's had a lot of success, over the years. And Coach Callahan really built a great culture there. So it's something that will obviously continue on with Coach Gallo, and you guys will continue to have great success. So it's really been great having you on today and learning your journey, because it's an important one. I think the more of these things, not just for yourself to do, but for other people who aspire to be in the role that you are, and to do some of the things that you're doing, that is something that is very, very new. And 20 years ago, 25 years ago, like you were a GA, you kind of had to play first, before you got your opportunity. There were some student assistants sometimes, because I do remember when I was in college, we had a guy who was a student assistant, and he climbed all the way up he was at Notre Dame at one point. He was special teams coordinator at Ball State, but he was a student assistant when I was playing in the 90s, and the guy really had a great career for a long time. And he started out as literally as a student assistant, and they would be screaming and yelling at him. I'm sure I don't even know if you guys use scout team cards still, but in college,
every day.
Of course.
Every day.
So they were screaming and yelling at him like when he put up the like wrong card and stuff. So you probably know what that's like. It's like, he put up the wrong card. Like, I want card one. And I just remember like my The only time I played scout team was my true freshman year because I was redshirted, and I remember like being on scout team my true freshman year, and this guy would be just getting yelled at he was getting yelled at more than we were getting yelled at. So, but he, he fought through it. He learned, and he was great at his job, and he ended up, really rising up to the high levels of Division One, and so I think that's really, really a cool thing. And now, back then, that was a really hard road because no one would even. Now, people are looking for young upstart coaches that really can bring a lot to the table like yourself. So much continued success, Scott.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, hey, have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Go Monmouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Man. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Talk soon, buddy.
Yep.
All right. That was great. Good job.
Yeah, he's the man, dude.
He's a sharp kid.
A lot of years in it, like
My favorite was when he said he called when he was I can't believe I didn't tease him about it because I was gonna out of my mind, but I just remembered it now. When he was like when he was at East Stroudsburg, and he referred to the other football players as kids, when probably half of them were older than he was at the time.
100%. And that's why I asked. I'm glad he went into that too, because if you think like that's really even GAs, right? That first year after you're done playing, if you stay with your program, that's really hard to separate player, coach. Like, I mean, some young assistant coaches have a hard time separating players and coaching and that lifestyle. So for him to be able, it definitely takes a different type of dude to go in there as a 18, 19-year-old true freshman and be the student assistant. You know what I mean? Now, look, I'm sure you babysit him a little, right? Like, you don't allow him to be around those guys in a certain way. But, dude, when they walk out of the football facility, he's still a college freshman on campus doing whatever he should be or wanting to do. I mean, look, like you said, like, I don't think I would have been able to do that or separate that, like, from one thing or the other, and to kind of know that track or that path that I wanted to, even though I had some inkling of wanting to be a coach, like I wouldn't have been able to just like all of a sudden now be mature enough to not live that type of life, as a college kid and as a coach, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's really awesome that he identified that early, and now he's reaped the benefits of it. I mean, he can't be 25, north of 25 for what it is. And he's already had 7 years college coaching experience at two really good programs at a Division II school and Monmouth, you know what I'm saying? And those are really good programs. And I know Coach Long depends on him for a shit ton of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and trusts him, obviously. Now, look, when you've been with the same guy, like that's, like he said, he can finish their sentences, basically same verbiage, all that stuff. But for him to understand, like, hey man, every little thing that I do or learn makes me more, makes me a better piece to this whole thing, right? Like I'm now more, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not as expendable if he's a one-trick pony. So now he can help in so many different departments that I'm sure there's a lot more going on than him just being the QC, you know what I mean, for specials, right? Like in terms of, hey, Scotty, can you help me do this with this breakdown or whatever it is? Or that's huge, to be that Swiss Army knife and be able to do a lot of those real things, which I think a lot of younger coaches, like we said, like we see it all the time. We talk about it all the time, like how young guys just kind of want to like get that title and call plays and do all this other kind of stuff. Like, well, if you want to like build that foundation and really get where you want to like get to that high level, right? Like you got to be able to do a lot of different things, and you can't just be that one trick pony.
There's no doubt about it. It's an important thing to learn all the different roles. It became a thing where I think his skill sets is going to get better and better and more varied. And
hell yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Well, that's why I asked him, which way do you want to track? You know what I'm saying? Like, which way do you feel like what are you going to coach DBs? Are you going to coach like best answer in the world? Like, I'll go wherever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he's like more confident in the defensive side of the ball because that's where he spent, a couple seasons, with the D-line, linebackers, DBs. Like, he has that kind of track record for that stuff. But I mean, I just think it's, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to be able to kind of write his own, he's going to look, for most part, at where he's at now. Like, if he ever leaves Monmouth or looks for a different job, like, he's only going to get offered a certain type of job, having been in that, for what most of those guys are. For him, because he's worked with so many different positions, he's actually going to have options to go and do it, right? Whereas most guys don't really have options. It's, hey, you're coming to do this, and that's it, right? Where he's going to get to make a choice somewhere along the line of, okay, well, these guys want me to work with this group, these guys want me to work with this group. Whereas I don't think that's the case for the most part if you haven't taken the approach that he has.
There's no doubt about it.
Did we?
That's
Okay.
that's definitely come back. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's definitely a difference maker. I think he really is. He's very confident in himself, and like he's got a good amount of self assuredness. So I think he's going to be really good. And it's good to hear that journey. That journey is that's the thing I thought about most was, wow, like as a college student, ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way. Like, of course, we were playing, so it's different. Like, we are getting on the job experience from that standpoint.
But still,
But,
dude, think
but
about when you went into coaching. I know when I went into coaching, like, oh, I could coach DBs, I could coach receivers. Like, I played it, I know it. Dude, you get into coaching and it's like, wait, what? Like, what are we talking about? And that was like, and I thought, as a player, I always prided myself on knowing what everybody on the defense was doing, right? Like,
right.
if D-line to secondary to like, to linebacker, like I wanted to know the whole scheme and as to why we're doing this, right? Most guys aren't like that. Like, they know their position and that's it. And then they get into coaching and it's like, oh, I can do this. Like, no, man, there is so much that goes into coaching that you have no idea until you're in it. And then to learn all the other stuff, and especially be at a college level, like, buddy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a different world.
There's no doubt about it. It's a
And to
totally
be
different
like,
world.
hey, like, come with me when I go to another place. Like, you know what I mean? So you think about it, like, Coach Long now goes to Monmouth and says, hey, I need this guy with me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and I think from being such a young guy put into those situations of like, hey, I got to prove myself. I'm the real deal. I'm not a fucking joke, right? Like, this is the real deal. That's where his confidence comes from, because he has to know it and has to be rock firm with it in terms of, here's what it is. I know what I'm talking about. Don't bust balls because, like, I got it, right? So I think that builds his level of confidence, and then having to almost be a wanted piece to it. Hey, buddy, I'm making this move to Monmouth. I think you should come with me. Like, let's go sell it to the other coaches. Okay. And then just prove yourself, right? Like, hey, coach, I can help you with that. Look, I think it's funny, like the little things of like, hey, dude, how do you take an Excel spreadsheet and do whatever with it in 10 seconds rather than like another coach taking an hour to do it because, hey, I just hit this button, coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, who
Right.
couldn't use that help, Because we talk about it. Like, college coaching is, how do I maximize my time? He talked about it, right? Like, if I can now take something, do it in 5 minutes that would normally take me an hour, dude, well, now I have time to like do whatever with the rest of that time. That's huge.
It's a difference made, something that is unique. And I mean, there's more people that could be in that role soon, but I find it to be a unique
How excited
position.
were you when he talked some AI?
Yeah, I wanted to dive in more about that, but but it sounds like he's still just learning, because he was saying that they don't. Oh, I like when he said coach goes and puts everything in and he comes out with it. Like, I told you that was going on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so when I sat there and I was trying to look for an edge to play River Plaza, and we played them the first time, but I had obviously lots of film, and I'm like, everything seems like patterns, but like I'm using my mind to discover these patterns, right? I know I'm pretty good, like I'm confident in my ability to see patterns, but I would like to know if I am on the right track,
Of
right?
course.
So I put that whole spreadsheet in there and spit it out, and I was blown away because I was like, not only I was on the right track, but there were certain things that were like, this is a given, you know what I mean, that this was gonna happen. And then my mind went to like, if this is giving me this for youth
Right.
football,
Yeah.
like what can it spit out
Right.
for complicated offenses where you're trying to figure out what people are doing on fourth down and 1, third down and 10, first down and 10, what their script looks like. There's a lot, right? I'm using it at a basic level. Not I don't want to say basic level. I'm trying to solve problems, but I'm using it to help me give me the information so I could solve a problem.
Correct.
And the fact that you can get suggestions, you it makes your mind, like the whole thing with to me with the human mind and AI. If listen, you can put in there and find all the recipes you want, okay, for pancakes and chocolate chips, and but if you utilize it to help
Well,
yourself figure out
yeah.
what problems you're trying to solve, like you, meaning Derek,
Right.
maybe for a football game, maybe something
Well, I
you're
think,
work.
and a lot of people say it, right? Like people are still using ChatGPT like it's Google, like, like asking it
Right.
information. It's like, no, like what can AI actually do for you to help you and, take it to that next level, not just ask it a question and expect an answer, right? Or whatever that is. Like use
I
it
mean, I'm
for what it can be.
I'm building myself tools in my daily life that can help me, right? So there's some things that I pay for an AI to help me, but there are some things that I'm building myself just so I could do certain things better, like
Right.
more quickly. And
Well,
it,
efficiency. I think all comes
it
down to
is.
efficiency.
Well,
He
who wants
referenced
to
it
do? Who
like
wants to?
24 hours in a day. What are you going to do to maximize it? And you got to sleep at some point, right? And so,
Well,
how
especially
can you literally do the rest of it?
if you spend 5 hours on thinking of something you really don't care about to get to the thing you care about, if you could help get
Limit
more
that
efficient,
time.
right, on the thing you don't care about, right? Like, I mean, the easiest, yeah, the one that people, email, helping you emails. Okay, great. I mean, I could build you a tool to help you with your emails. Okay, but
Well,
like you got to go beyond that, like making like being able to help. If you use email as an example, parse out all the things that might be super important that's relative to football.
right.
Boom. All of a sudden, now your inbox now has a folder for you and it's reading everything that's important to football. So you don't miss those emails, right? Everybody gets a lot of emails, and all of a sudden someone's like, hey, I sent you something on this. How about a job opportunity? God forbid you miss a job opportunity
Imagine.
because yeah, right. Like someone knows Derek, but he doesn't know him that well. Doesn't have his phone number, and someone says, "Hey, man, I was able to get his email off of LinkedIn. I shot him an email. A month goes by, you don't respond to it because you didn't know the email even came in. That happens on your email because you got so much junk on there, right?
Yep.
Or you want to parse like even as a kid, right, or a parent. You're going through recruiting. You want to parse your email for these invites, right? Because you can miss them. Like you might
100%.
get an invite. You might get a lot of them are sent via email still. You get an email via for about a camp. You get one. I don't know. Maybe you wanted to go to an all star event or something, and it came in. But you know what? You're not tracking by certain. Well, you could build a tool. So and those are just basic stuff. But there's like obviously much more complicated things that you could do that really help you. And it's amazing and I see it like when I hear, coach so and so just plugs into chat GPT, just think about how rudimentary that really is, even though it's
Mhm.
great, obviously. But down the line, like you're going to be able to you want to solve this. I want to solve for my right tackle being a little bit less efficient in the run game, what are things that I could do, not just technique-wise, but what are some things I could do run play-wise to cover that weakness up? That's important. And I don't mean weakness like he stinks and he shouldn't be a starter. At college, you might be like, we're going against a better guy. This guy's better than him, okay? This guy's a little stronger, a little bit quicker. What can we do? What are a couple of nuances we could do to cover that up? What's a play or two that we could still run to that side without never having to run to that side to give away a tendency, right? Like, we can't run at this guy, Micah Parsons. We can't, you know what? We like our passing game cannot be this. Well, maybe there is something you could do to take advantage of Micah Parsons' strength,
Right.
okay, which is super fast.
Make it counter. Yeah. How do you use that against him or whatever?
Right. How do you use what Micah Parsons, and eventually you'll be able to analyze his biomechanics and say, you know what, Micah Parsons does this. If you run this, this will get him leaning in this direction, and you have a better chance on the play. And you know what? Without having to figure that out yourself, let the AI figure that out. Now he spits back to you possible solutions. You figure out the solutions that work for your team, your situation. But now, instead of, like, think about it. If you were spending 8 hours figuring, which college coaches do now, how do we stop Micah Parsons? They'll spend, I guarantee you're spending hours.
Like, because it's worth it.
Right. We could do this. We could do this. We could do this. We could do this. We need to do this. Well, if AI could say to you already, here are the possible things, you could just put those possible things on the board and rule them out. Right.
Whereas now here's my question. Does it diminish the role of the assistant coach? Because back in the day, that would be you guys in the room, kind of throwing it on the board, doing all that. So it doesn't.
Every coach is going to have to become a problem solver. So no matter you being at the lowest level, because you're going to need more guys to solve more problems. Okay. But what you will not be able to do, what you will not be able to be, unless you're getting coffee for the guys and stuff like that, like there'll always be a role for that guy, unless your robot goes and gets you coffee. I don't know, maybe that, but you know, but
how long before
yeah. But outside of that, what you will have is this: you're going to need someone to be able to pick out solutions. So now you got faster with that. Now there's more solutions you can get. There's a lot of things you never get. Think about it. What do we always say in football? Hey, we need to be able to pick the things that we're good at that we can go and get done, right? We don't have time to analyze.
Now you'll have that time.
You'll get that time back. So maybe there is a play that you could run and put in with your team that week that you just don't have time to really analyze this, a possible nuance. Like, for example, like if you could run Bixby's offense through AI, all of their game film, right? And it can read it, which you can't really do yet at a high level, but could read it all, spit back out to you and say, hey, these are not only this is Bixby's best plays, but these are the plays that might fit with your offense that you currently run where you don't have to teach too much. And here are 5 suggestions for you that might work for what you guys are doing.
Right.
And now you ran it through and now you have 5 suggestions. Now you watch those 5 plays, right? Instead of watching 5,000, you watch 5, okay? And then you ask it a couple of questions and then you say, okay, you know what? These are plays. And then we run it through with the coaches. Now you're solving problems. Now you bring to the head coach, hey, listen, coach, I remember when you were talking about, you really love the Bixby offense. Well, I just ran all the plays through the thing, and I asked it a bunch of questions, and basically here are 3 plays that fit within what we possibly do. If you're interested in running a little bit.
This is what we
you want to run a package. Here are the 3 plays we might be able to run, or 1 play with two variations that we could run, put into our system, won't screw us up, and now we're good to go. And that goes, and I think that's where AI is, I mean, where it will get to until it kills us 25 years from now. But before that, you'll be able to break down all. Yeah, but you'll be like you'll have a master analysis to help you get these solutions. So what happens to the analyst role? The analyst has to solve problems. He's got to look at all this information and be able to figure out this is important, this is not important. What AI does do, okay, like people are like, oh, AI is going to do it all for you. Listen, I could go down a rabbit hole with my AI and he'll give me everything. I still got to fucking read it, okay, or have it read it to me.
You have to plug it in. Yeah, exactly. Or I think that's where you bridge the gap for me, was saying, like, look, dude, like, you can plug all this in and get all this stuff, but you still have to be able to tell it exactly what you want and align it so that you're getting the correct information. Otherwise, you'll just almost get too much information.
You'll get too much information because it'll keep going down. It'll ask you more questions. It'll ask you more. And next thing you know, what you started with is not even where you're at,
Yeah, you're like, wait, what? It's kind of like how when you're doom scrolling or whatever, and all of a sudden now your algorithm is telling you, like, what the hell are we doing? Like, how did I get here?
And the bottom line is exactly. And the bottom line is you get into a situation where you aren't analyzing the things that you set out to actually break down and analyze. But it's a powerful tool, and it's going to change everything, not just in our world, but like sports wise, it's going to change it. The guys in sports who figure it out best, you're going to see those guys rise in coaching faster than everybody else, because they're going to get so much information. They're going to provide value as an assistant to head coaches. Will it make you a head coach faster? Maybe not. What it will do is it will make you the most valuable assistant on your staff. And then if you do become a head coach, you'll now know what to tell your assistants what you need each week. Like when you get in there in that meeting, you could say, like, hey man, like John Smith, like I need you to get a spreadsheet on this, funnel into ChatGPT, give me 5 plays for this. Okay, good. We're our line, our whole left side is small. Like find funnel this in. I saw this group running it with smaller people. Find the best things that work well, blah, blah, blah. Speed training stuff, right? Okay, great. It's great. Tony Holler has 9,000 effing drills and 9,000 things, right? Right. Yep. It was great in the beginning. When we first interviewed him, it was phenomenal, right? Because we were able to pair into this small world of the most important thing. Tony still drives that home, but the most important thing. But now we're into all these drills and all these guys, and everybody has a different variation. Okay. Now it gets confusing. Okay. When we interviewed Tony 2 years ago, it was not confusing, because really the message of run fast, rest properly, and focus on things that can make you more explosive and fast without, and conditioning is the enemy of speed. Basically, that, if you were to summarize Tony's kind of focus, that's kind of the focus, right? Right. But now the question always becomes, how do you go about doing it? Well, obviously Tony and his staff has to get into drills, workout plans. As we get into those things, now you got 5,000 different ways to do this, right? That's confusing for a strength and conditioning coach, a speed coach. That's confusing for guys who don't know any better, all right? And then they accidentally overworkload a kid, because even though that's not what they were trying to do, because there's so many beautiful drills I could do with my guy, and there's just not enough time, right? So, we've experimented with, I'm the great experimenter with the youth guys. We have the line come in for 45 min, and we have the once a week. It's really 3 times a month, because usually one week we have them off, but once a week. And we're working for 45 minutes. We're doing 15 to 20 minutes of speed max, like drills in there. And then the rest is like some form of football stuff, like teaching or going, it's individual skills. Like there's something different each time, just to get them overall better. But doing it as someone who's even coaching it and knows the right thing to do, what you have a hard time accounting for, which younger kids, even high school kids, are like this. they're anxious and ready to go, man. They're like jumping beans, man. They're ready to work. They, like you give them downtime, they're touching each other, they're pushing each other, they're saying something stupid, right? This is not like Auburn University, okay, track team, who they know that they got to run 5 190s at a certain pace and you got 10 minutes in between. And those dudes take 10 minutes and stretch or whatever they do. You know what I'm saying? Keep themselves ready or don't do anything, right? Could got the discipline to do that at that age. We're kids in high school, like this, you coach in high school. Like, you'd love to give your guys 5-minute breaks. Next thing I know, he's over there rolling around with a girl. You know what I mean? Like,
who's not? Okay, I gotta get a drink. It's like, look, you can't even. I gotta go to the bathroom.
But that's
all right. Well, then where is this guy?
Yeah, where'd he go? I told you in 5 minutes. He's been gone for 25.
Dude, so this was funny. It's funny. Like, this is kind of like along with the lines of it, but like whatever. So I was talking to some of our guys the other day, right? And we talked about like they didn't. So I was explaining to them conditioning testing, when you get to camp, and they're like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "Buddy, I had to do 16 110s," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Dude, I had to do 16 110-yard sprints for time for each skill group." And that was your conditioning test. And then, one of the other guys was like, "Oh, well, yeah, we did 300-yard shuttles." And it was like, so we were just explaining to these guys like that was part of like, that was the first day of camp was like, hey, you showed up on Sunday, Monday morning at like 6 a.m. You were conditioning testing. That was like they're like, what do you mean you had to do all of that like in a row? I'm like, yeah. And there wasn't like, oh, he needs a little break. Like I said, and if you didn't, I said, you were there 5:30 a.m. every day of camp until like you built back up and got to test again and like did it. Dude, it was like a mind blow. Like they were like, wait, what do you mean? And I'm like, picture, like I'm literally breaking it down to like, get on the goal line, sprint the opposite back of the end zone, 30-second break, turn around, do it again. I said, and then each rep was timed for a time of like, you have to make it in under 18 seconds, 20 seconds. Like I said, and the 30-second break starts from the time the first, like, you know what I mean? When that last guy hits, 30 seconds, go. Wait, you had to do 16 of those? Like, yeah, welcome to college football. Or you had to do, however many 300-yard shuttles. Like, yeah, welcome to college football. Like, that's how you like weeded through the, like, you know what I mean? Like, should you be here? Are you not here? Like, that was a coach's first like opinion of who you were. Could you handle this? Did
Correct.
you prepare this? I said, and I don't care how many of them you ran in the summer. It was always that much harder when you're actually there testing because it was just different, dude. You could be the most like ready to go.
The CNS component of it, right?
They just didn't
stress.
Yeah. They just didn't get it. Like the level of heart rate's already up, dude. And like now you're rocking. I said the only
way.
How about
winter workouts?
Dude, I tried to explain to them mat drills and like all that. I said, Sacred Heart, we finished our season on Saturday. I said, and it was probably like the first week in November. Our last game, we're done. I said, Tuesday morning at 5 a.m., we were back at the facility and we were agility drills, lifting. Like we were going through it on Tuesday. They're like, wait, what about like, I'm like, there's no break.
You want me to tell you the most crazy
old school?
I'll tell you the craziest. This is the craziest old school thing. You're lucky enough to have started college about 15 years after me, which is,
and you know what? And I always attest this to it, but Dave, like the reason that I was on the tail end of that was like all of that stuff in terms of even like towards the end of my high school career. The only reason any of that was going down was because that was when we lost Corey Stringer.
That was the big turning.
Dude, that was the shit
beginning, right?
Time to things need to change because like this could happen, and that's what that was when it was.
We're still doing Junction Boys in 2000. So here's this. This is mind blowing. Now I think about it now. Like my kid would just say, if I did it, if this was done to my kid, he would just. I mean, and every kid, by the way, not just my kid, every kid, they would just walk right out and never come back. So they would bring us in the winter workouts. So you guys had tough winter workouts, but they did. You're right. They did try to. They were beginning to change. It was still very
Correct.
hard. When I came to college under Tom Jackson in the 1990s, and they did a thing, I still can't fathom I did this. And they were mad. It was one day a week, and it came from a guy who was our defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, not the Greg Williams you know of, but different Greg Williams.
Not Bounty Gate?
No, different Greg Williams. But he still coaches somewhere now. I mean, anyway, we did 40 40s in winter workouts with a 10-second break. 4-0. I have seen people.
What did you say? How long of a break?
10 seconds. My mind when we did that, when I did
and
it.
The break started, 10 seconds started when the last guy finished, right?
Yes. Now, I could not imagine being a slower player doing
Imagine.
that. I could barely survive.
And I was like in the upper 60% of speed wise, right? Like I figured it out real quick.
Yeah, of course you were. You're a DB.
I mean,
you're definitely.
But obviously I worked with Mike Smith too. And he's like, look, dude, you have to burn it out for the first 60 to 70 yards of your 110 and then coast through the back of the end zone to give you enough like to get going. But dude, you didn't give a shit. By the time you hit 8, 9, dude, you're done.
Done. What was crazy about 40-40s was
that's insane.
They timed everybody. Now we were in a group. So back then I was in the running back group.
Whoa, dude.
I was not the fastest in that group. Although even though I was a fullback, I was as fast as most of the tailbacks. There was a couple tailbacks that were faster than me, definitely. But like the most of them were around my 40, like 4.6 range. There was a couple that were like 4.4 guys that first of all, they couldn't even make it to 4.4 guys, because when you talk about it from Tony Holler's standpoint, those guys can't make it, not because their fast twitch is so fast twitch. Like I had enough slow twitch because I was a little slower that, I didn't burn out. Those guys were done after like 5. Anyway, the 40-40s, here's the crazy part about 40-40s. That was not the end of practice.
That was the start.
That was a station.
Yeah.
Because he was mad that day. So you came around to this. That was one of the stations. You still had fucking matros. And I God bless Vernon Hargraves. He tried to do a little bit of torture, but I just don't think it was in him to torture you. And he was the matro king. Unless Vernon Hargraves was ahead of his curve from this standpoint. He was always in control of matros. And you would come to him and he would say, this is very simple. You go as fast as you can and you react to the whistle quickly and you do everything correctly.
And you're done.
You'll roll through and you're done. If you fuck it up, you will go again. Yep. It was very simple.
Neil Brown was the same way.
The person I was, and you were probably, with a father as a coach. And
I was doing it right.
I processed that correctly. And I would always, in my line, make sure I had the fucking guys that I knew.
Listen, buddy.
Because there were great players that did not process that shit.
Dude, you understand, like, being a DB, buddy, like, there were some dudes in that room that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we're talking fucking, like, I mean, shit, like,
Can't say the R word anymore, but the R word would fit.
It was like, buddy, just do what you do, okay? And just cover that guy. Like, that's what, like, we're not breaking anything. And these dudes, I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times, like, Coach Brown, right, like, would just be like, what are you doing? Like, I explained it. We showed it. Like, I made sure of, like, I was always the guy that was like, dude, you got it? Like, you good? Like, you good? Like, you understand it, right? Yeah, I got it. Dude, they'd still get up there. And it was like, deer in headlights. Like, buddy, like, what do we do? Like, come on, man. Like, it was it was really difficult. Some of those guys just couldn't process something so simple as like, look, man, he's going to blow the whistle and he's going to point left, touch the line, come back. And it was like, he told you to touch the line, like touch the line.
I would look at guys. I'm like,
and you always knew it, right? Because guys, certain guys,
line.
and look, you're out there, and look, we were outside.
And they'd be like, don't yell at each other. And I would be like, encourage them, And I'd be like, I'd turn to him. I'd be like, you better fucking touch that line. You better fucking.
I'd be like, dude, 100%. I'm like, dude, if you fuck this up again, dude, like, there's gonna be get ready.
And there were guys that were less patient than I was. I would be definitely.
Dude, I felt like I was one of the patient ones and the understanding ones. There were some dudes
punch other guys,
and you always saw dudes that were like guys that were. Boom! And it was always the guys that were like right on the verge of like, hey man, I'm really struggling right now myself. For me to have to do another one is going to make me look like shit because I'm right there. So like, if you don't get this right and I have to go do more because of you, and now I'm going to get demoted or whatever it is, or looked at in a different light, like, buddy, we're just swinging to stop the whole thing to get a pause for everybody. We would also have some linemen that would do that shit on purpose. Like they just start a fight to like give everybody a breather. Like
linemen are great like that.
The one dude's like, yo, I'm just gonna pass out this day. Like I can't fucking do this. I'm just gonna go down. Like
we had garbage cans everywhere. You probably
So the 110s, that was literally like we got there on Saturday, moved in on Saturday. Sunday morning was like conditioning time. So that's where you saw like a lot of like, because we did it as incoming freshmen by ourselves. Right. So that new class of whoever came in, it was, whatever new class came in, and then some transfers or whoever it was, guys that were just basically new. And dude, that's when you saw like guys that like had this expectation of what college football was going to be, or they came from a program that like, dude, we just like did whatever we did. Like they didn't really play high school football like to that standard or that level. Like I just watched guys just die, just die, dude. Like
that's
on their back.
Was
very whoa.
That's where track was very, very helpful because the guy, you know what other guys had no problem? Track guys for the most part had no problem, and wrestlers had no problem because they were used to being tortured.
Understand, yes, there's a level of mental fortitude that goes into that. Like you said, like when you hit 9, 10, 11, like because once you get past like 11, you're like, all right, dude, we're almost there. Like we're on the tail end of this, and you can keep going as long as like your mind takes over at that point, right? And then for the most part, like those guys get it. Like rarely did you have that douche of a coach that was like, he missed it, like, or some guys like, we didn't fucking miss it. Like, why you like, he's doing it on purpose, which only pisses you off even more and makes you work. Like, I get the element of like team camaraderie coming together, but that worked the opposite way for the most part. Now guys are really ragging on each other and like doing all that, like, bullshit of like this motherfucker, right? And now they're like, now you're in the middle of practice and somebody gets like crashed back and you're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, miss another 110, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that people keep receipts.
How about the old, you guys definitely probably did this when you were in college, the old pursuit drill where if you didn't get the thumbs up, the like 3 thumbs up or whatever, it
was like one of these, you got like this, you got like this, or you got like this.
Used to want to fight. They would want to fight the coach that would
well, the other thing too was within the off-season,
those coaches.
Within the off-season program too, like everything was tracked on a point system too. So you were obviously separated into certain groups and everybody was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't done positionally. Right, like I
don't even remember it now.
So
I know they did it but I don't remember it.
We lifted positionally.
We got all points
right?
for everything.
Like,
I remember
DBs. Now DBs.
I just don't remember how it was done.
DBs and wideouts, we lifted together as one group, right? So the end of every lifting session, there was always some type of competition. Whether it was, like iron crosses where we would have 10-pound dumbbells in each arm, and you would literally go across from each other and stare, arms straight out with 10-pound dumbbells in your hand, and it would be a DB versus a receiver, and you would sit there and stare at each other and see who could hold it the longest. Or you would do it, you would hang from, a pull-up bar facing each other, right? Or it would be individual tug of war with a towel or a tire, right? Like there would be some
Right.
type of competition between receiver and DB. But the first day, that younger guy beats the older guy. Like now you're putting receivers, DBs against each other anyway, which is always, you're already competing because it's offense, defense, it's one-on-ones, right? Like that's always the thing. But now you take that younger guy who now like might have a shot to do something, and now he beats that older guy who's just, out in there just kind of going through the motions because he's already the starter or whatever it is. Like, dude, now you're talking a whole different level of like, now the coaches are chirping even more. Like, you're going to let him do that to you. And then it's, let's fucking go again. And it's like, dude, I just beat you. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. Or it's a younger guy in the same room as you who's pissed because you're playing more than he is. And he thinks he's better. And how come he got the shot and you did it? And all this other, like, there's so many of those intangibles that goes into that offseason Matt stuff and the mind games that coaches play with you. But everything was tracked on a point system so that like that new, like every week you were brought in and showed like the big board, right?
The
like
about it was so many guys got hurt in that, and so many old muscle. It was so stupid when you think back. Like I always thought it was stupid just because I was a track guy.
Right, you understood that world. See, I didn't know any different. I bought into everything. I
always thought it was stupid. I would just run it because I knew I was in better shape than this fucking guy. So I'll look good. I'll look good at all these.
I was trying to keep and earn something, right? Because I was like, oh shit, I'm the only one here that like literally traveled every game as a freshman. I actually played as a freshman, right? Like I also, not only do I have to live up to like justify why I was playing and why I was doing what I was doing, but now I was like, for me personally, like, all right, well, I'm going to be that next guy in as a safety going into sophomore year. So let me prove this fucking point. But you also had that level of the coach's standard for who I was personally was like, hey, he's already fucking played, right? Like, okay, now let's see what his next level is. And there was that back and forth of like, oh, fuck, like, here we go, dude. Like, but it was that offseason, that first offseason was unbelievable, but it was all tracking towards, okay, when we hit spring ball, like you're the 2 on the depth, he's the 3, you're here. And like guys they would post that shit all the time so that guys knew exactly where they stood within workouts itself. Like that's how we lost so many guys before the even, like once we left for Christmas break, because remember, we started that program the second week of November, which gave us pretty much like a month of workouts so the coaches could kind of push those buttons and see like who's coming back, who's not. And you would have some guys that were like, didn't go to a workout and were like, I'm gone. Like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, or do a week and be like, I'm never going to be here. Like, I don't want to be here. I'm not putting myself through this, and would just be gone. It was like, all right, so-and-so's not here anymore. Like, check his locker, see if he's got an extra pair of socks. I'll take them. Like, what size cleats is he? He's not coming back to clean out his locker. Like, I got it.
Crazy.
Dude, different world. That's not what anybody would know.
Thank God you don't do that. Hopefully guys aren't doing that anymore. I will.
I mean, I don't know.
What? Yeah, maybe they are. When are we coming back next?
Who knows? We'll be back on Thursday with Tyler Schneider, the OC from Bixby.
Bixby. All right, cool, man.
Just won another state title.
We'll see you then.
All right.